Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Incentive Concepts live broadcast. I'm your host, Andy Hudson, Director of Marketing for Incentive Concepts. And for those of you that have watched us, the goal of these broadcasts is to connect and engage with our customers and to give you a little information about corporate gifting, workplace solutions, our event experiences, and much, much more. And most importantly, it's to have some fun and to stay connected and engaged with you, our customers, partners, and friends. So before we get started, just a few little logistical details. You're likely watching on our Incentive Concepts website, and that's just fine. There should be a chat box right below the YouTube box. If so, we'd love to hear from you, so please chat throughout the broadcast. Several members of the Incentive Concepts team will be on the broadcast as well, interacting with us. If for some reason you can't see the chat box, just click on YouTube and head on over to YouTube and you can chat there as well. With that, let's get started. Today's guest is Ted Moravec. Ted is the Vice President of Process Innovation for us at Incentive Concepts. He's served in a variety of leadership roles, including operations, sales, management, marketing, consulting, and international business. And today he'll be discussing how Incentive Concepts operates as a full service provider, our position in the recognition and loyalty space, and we will be sharing a very exciting announcement. So without further ado, let's welcome Ted. Ted, how are you doing?
Doing great, Andy. Good to be with everybody today. Looking forward to the next half hour or so.
Well, great. How are things in Florida?
A pretty typical July 2nd in Florida. It's a beautiful blue sky, probably about 90 degrees, and as one would expect, probably extremely humid.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's humid here in St. Louis too, but maybe not quite as hot. We're more than 100 days into this whole COVID-19 pandemic thing. How are you and your family handling it?
Well, it's a whole new world for everybody. For me personally, I'm used to working remote, but I'm also used to being gone about it, probably about 100 days a year. So I've been home since March 6th, so that's created, a different domestic dynamic than we're used to around here. I do miss seeing all my friends in the industry and seeing customers and working with the reps. So but all in all, there's probably a great silver lining because it's allowed us to focus on some new things, especially the one that we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes.
Okay, and I think your wife's name is Jan, if I'm not mistaken. You haven't been driving her crazy, have you?
I could bring her in here and let you ask her, but let's not.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll skip that part. So, you did talk about a silver lining and about being 100% remote. What's been the hardest part about being 100% remote?
I think I've been working remote for 4 years. I mean, you just miss when you're not with everybody else. You miss just that daily ability to bounce something off somebody, things like that. I mean, it's the difficult part is not being remote from IC. The difficult part is being remote from our customers, our reps, our suppliers, and the industry, and only the people in the industry that I work with.
Well, that's fantastic. Everybody, I think, and myself included, are hearing you loud and clear today. Can you tell us about your audio setup?
Well, I'd be glad to, Andy. I have a Bose SoundLink Color hooked up to my laptop. I think as we've learned in some of the Bose presentations, it's a great pairing for a home environment like this. It pairs great with the great sound and an extremely sensitive microphone, so it's perfect for virtual meetings like that.
Yeah, I have a SoundLink Color in my office back at the office at IC, and I love it. It's a bright blue one. Listen to all my playlists, which are a little bit of classic rock and roll and a little bit of old times stuff. I think I drive my coworkers a little bit crazy with my classic rock, but hopefully I don't blast it too loud. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your experiences with Incentive Concepts. What are some examples of how we at Incentive Concepts operate as a full service provider?
I think, if you just look at where we've come from, say maybe even as short as a dozen years ago, IC, for years and years was a very, very good source for brand name merchandise that we fulfilled and fulfilled primarily the traditional premium and incentive models. We've evolved that over the years, and let me toss it back to you a bit. You've been around for over 3 years, which is twice as long as I've been in Incentive Concepts. So what strikes you, particularly in this recent time period of how we've adapted?
Well, thanks for asking. I've always been really impressed with how our team is very resilient with change, and we're always willing to try new things, it seems, new processes to try to improve workflow or efficiencies or whatever the case may be. And, really in the past 100+ days with this whole work from home situation, I guess the most impressive thing has been how everybody's kind of still come together. We've kept our real family atmosphere and our culture intact. So, that's my favorite part about working for Incentive Concepts, honestly. So that's how I feel about it. Hopefully you feel the same, even though you're a relative rookie with us.
Yeah, I do too. I think what's impressive certainly is the way the companies all come together. But I think what's impressive about that is how the companies come together to present solutions to our customers during this absolutely unusual and unprecedented times.
Yeah, and it is unusual. We were supposed to be heading on a trip with my family here tomorrow morning, and we're going to go out west for about a week, and we decided to cancel that. It's a little disappointing, but at the same time, it's most important to be safe. So hopefully you're safe.
I hear your pain.
Yeah. All right. Well, as you've seen on our previous broadcasts, we like to kind of do some polls for the viewers to kind of help everybody stay engaged. So we're going to do that yet again today. So our first poll question is, and we're going to talk about promotional products. What was the first known promotional product ever in the United States? All right. So viewers, if you're watching that, type some answers into the chat. Again, what was the first known promotional product ever in the United States? And I'll put that text in there in the chats too, and maybe we'll ask you your answer to that, Ted, a little bit later. But let's shift gears again. And one of the things I enjoy most about Incentive Concepts is something we call the Get Fit Challenge, where we're challenged to stay healthy, stay fit. Do you have any experience with that, Ted?
Yes, actually I do. I went many months as an IC employee without getting into the Get Fit Challenge, but finally I did. One of the things that's changed is our community fitness centers closed down here, so I'm a morning walker, and today was my 98th consecutive day out walking in the morning, and every one of those 98 days I've been wearing the Bose frames to help me chug along there. That's exactly what those things were made to do. Listen to music, listen to a podcast, or if somebody wants to interrupt your exercise on the phone call, great for taking the phone call. They're perfect.
Yeah, my wife wears a pair when she's on her walks, and she loves them. She likes how she can, be listening to her music or her podcast and still hear, the traffic around her and whatnot. So let's look at our poll here because we asked about what was the first promotional product, the known promotional product in the U.S. And let's see who's tuning in and if we have any answers. Somebody said a baseball cap, our own Kevin Hagan. Somebody said, Mark W. said a writing instrument. We've got 2 answers for pens. And then apparel was one answer, and then a pin, a P-I-N, was an answer. So do you have a guess, Ted? Or
I'm going to say putting a company logo on a moonshine jug.
Okay, yeah, great. Well, yeah, not quite. And actually, the answer to this is kind of timely because we have a patriotic holiday coming up. The first known promotional products were actually commemorative buttons from 1789 when George Washington was president. So whoever said pin was fairly close, but it was actually buttons from 1789 when George Washington was president. I wish I had one of those right now. I'm sure it'd be worth a lot of money, along with your moonshine.
It'd be well aged by now.
Right. Okay. So thanks for answering. These are fun. They just to keep us engaged here. Let's get into the meat of our conversation today, Ted. I hear you've got a pretty exciting announcement that you've been working on for the past several weeks and months. Can you give us a little update on what's going on? Yes,
I am very pleased today to publicly announce the introduction of the newest addition to the IC toolbox of solutions for our customers. A new part of the company called Custom Direct by Incentive Concepts. Custom Direct will provide a vehicle for our customers to directly import products from overseas factories without having to go through an overseas importing company. It was formed with a strategic alliance with a very, very experienced direct importing team, which has offices in the United States, has offices in Asia, actually has people on the ground in Asia. So it's a great combination of years and years of direct importing experience by our partners in Asia. And you marry that up with Incentive Concepts experience and service capability. And what you get out of this is a trusted, simplified, hassle way to get into the admittedly very complex world of direct importing. So we're thrilled to be launching this and sharing a little more information about it for the rest of this broadcast.
Well, that's wonderful, and then there should be a logo up on the screen, which has been developed. I love the logo, and the thing that kind of interests me most about it is the trusted global sourcing, and the fact that there's periods between each of those words. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure, glad to. Trusted, obviously, trust is the thing that we all value as probably one of our most important business assets, no matter what type of business you're in. Trust in this case is the trust that the industry has in Incentive Concepts as a partner. It's the trust that we have in our team in Asia for the vetting that they've done with the factories and their ability to work with those factories. The global pretty much speaks for itself. If you're going to be directly importing from factories, you're going to be sourcing from all over the world. And probably the biggest emphasis on this would be factories in East and South Asia. And sourcing's the name of the game. Sourcing is having those relationships directly with the factory. Your personal involvement with the factory, that you know the owner, you know the reputation of the factory, you're able to inspect it, you're there all the time. So you put it all together and you have a trusted global sourcing capability that Incentive Concepts now brings to our customers and hopefully some new customers as well.
Well, that's great. And thanks for that overview. It's fantastic. This has been, new to you, obviously, kind of with Incentive Concepts, bringing this to Incentive Concepts, but it's really not new to you based on your background. Can you kind of tell us how your background fits with this new initiative?
Yeah, this one was really fun when we realized that there's an opportunity to do this. And it was a great way for me to marry a couple of parts of my career. I spent about a third of my career working in Asia. And I spent about a third of my career in the incentive world. So putting Custom Direct by IC together allowed me to take my background of used to working in an Asian environment and Asian business practices, along with what I've learned in the last 13 years or so in the incentive world. Put all that together, and then package it with the strengths that Incentive Concepts brings in terms of our customer relationship, our customer service capabilities, our service levels, and certainly the reach of our sales force. So it was just kind of a dream assignment for me to be able to put this together and now lead it into fruition.
Yeah, that sounds great. And interestingly enough, you lived in Asia for how many years did you say?
I worked there. I worked there for about 15 years. I've lived there for 7 years. I lived in Seoul, Korea, for 7 years, and I lived in New Delhi, India, for a year.
Wow, how was that on your family? I've got teenagers. Was that a big impact? How old were your kids?
When we moved to Seoul in 1985, my kids were going into 8th grade and 6th grade. And then we were there for 5 years. My son graduated from high school, and my daughter moved to India with us for a year. Then we were back to the States for a year, and then back to Korea without kids for a couple of years.
Well, I bet that really kind of shaped their kind of understanding of history and culture in a different way than many of us get that are just here in the U.S. So that sounds wonderful. Um, so we're going to ask our second viewer question, since Kate was really close with her pins, and I think she said on chat that she meant button pins or pins and buttons. So Kate, we'll give you a 75% credit there.
I think Kate's a ringer. I think didn't she have the winner last week or the week before?
I think maybe she did. So she must be doing her homework beforehand. So we're going to put her to the test again, and everybody else to the test. We're going to stick with a promotional products theme here. What percentage of consumers can remember the brand on a promotional product they received? So type in your guess. What percentage of consumers can remember the brand on a promotional product they received? And while people are typing that in, Ted, I'm just going to look at if there's any questions so far on the chat. I do see several people tuning in, a lot of familiar faces. BLR20 says it's not your music that drives us crazy, Andy. I have a feeling I know who that is, BLR. Well, thanks, BLR. I appreciate that very much. Kate grew up in the incentives world, so she does have a little bit of feedback on that. She mentioned that, so that's probably why she's gotten that question right. But again, our question number 2, what percentage of consumers can remember the brand on a promotional product they received? And we'll get back to that in a second. So Ted, let's get back to it. So why now, and why direct importing, and why is it important to roll this out right now?
Great question, Andy, and it really speaks to our strategy of going into this. Direct importing has become an increasingly attractive merchandise option, particularly for larger orders. People don't have massive inventory sitting in warehouses in the U.S. There's layers of cost involved. So if you can get it directly from the factory, you've got a lot of additional opportunities. Now, the other side of this thing is an extremely complicated business. And the people that do direct importing, the people that access direct importing, unless you're one of the very, very, very big players in the market, you are going through an overseas trading company. You might not know that you're going through an overseas trading company, but you are going through an overseas trading company. The overseas trading company acts as a middleman between the buyer and the factory. What we saw in this thing is we saw the opportunity to partner with somebody that had those factory relationships. So we can cut out that trading company, we can cut out that middleman. And what we wanted in a partner and what we found in a partner was somebody that had years and years of experience and had people located in the market. So we're teamed up with people that actually have 5 employees that work in Asia, live in Asia.
Hey, I was muted. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
That happens to all of us on these Zoom calls. So why don't we dig a little bit deeper into kind of the process and really how this is going to work, that you can maybe speak to?
Well, I think the main benefits of going direct. When you have a direct relationship like this, you're able to build a product that the customer wants, instead of taking a retail product and modifying it. The product's been built for retail, but now you've got the ability to build a customer that the product wants. And the graphic that's up there, let's say it starts with an idea. This is what we're looking at, what we're trying to do. So it's an idea creation process that somebody comes to us with a concept of this is what we'd like. And let's use a cooler, for example. We love a cooler. We love it like have a retro look, but we'd like to have our logo baked onto the side of it. And by the way, we'd like the color to be in our corporate PMS color. So what can we do with that? We can go directly to our factory that we've had a long-term relationship with, source it. Here's the specs. Here's what we can do. Provide a virtual of what it's going to look like. Get the order. Have our people on the ground work their go through the process, and I think probably if we look at this thing and this period between the concept and the sourcing, but especially that sourcing to the delivery piece, that's where this partnership, and that's where Custom Direct by IC really comes into play, because it's all about risk mitigation. The risk mitigation is probably the most critical aspect of direct importing today. And there's a gazillion things that can go wrong with this. So I keep reiterating, people on the ground, relationships with the factories, everybody we're working with that's in our core factory family are factories that we have years and years of relationships with, multiple orders for some of the biggest retailers in the world. Many of them have a McDonald's or a Disney certification, which means they've had to go through the most stringent requirements. We've vetted these factories so they're compliant with U.S. labor, environmental, material, all those Prop 65s and Props all those things we've had to learn to deal with. This has all been done, and at the end of the day, they know the logistics. They get the product, they're there to inspect the product before it's shipped. It gets shipped to the port. We follow it all the way to the end. And probably one of the great things about this is, since you're dealing with Incentive Concepts, it's like you're buying any other product from us. The money stays in the U.S. You're just dealing with Incentive Concepts. You're not dealing with some middleman somewhere on the other side of the world.
Gotcha. So you alluded to some core products, I think is what I heard you say, or a core collection. Can you speak a little bit more about what that is all about?
Yeah, it'd be great to do this. What we have here, let's think of it in two chunks. Let's think of it not so much in products, but let's think of it in core categories. And what a core category is these are products that are made in factories where we have this tight relationship. So within that product group, we've got a number. I mean, we have the existing relationships, and just kind of spring ahead before I get into that a little bit. The opposite of that is the non-core. These are factories where we know who they are, we know where you can get it. They're just not the ones that we have the day-to-day years of relationship with. So if we look at our core categories, and then there's dozens of products that are in the core categories. But just to get the conversations going, we've started this into a group of products that are at home and a group of products that are on the go. At home, think of things like kitchen. Think of things that you can be used in a 5-week casino continuity program. On the screen is the retro cooler. This is a great product. Very super high quality, and the ability to decorate this right at the time of manufacturing. We've got just a killer refrigerator that in fact, there it is. The logo's baked in at the time of manufacturing, and that door, that's actually an embedded LED backlit logo. You can't do that after it's been delivered. Sure, you can stick a decal on the side of a refrigerator, but the quality difference and the opportunity you have for customization while the product's being manufactured are just so radically different. When there's a couple more examples of what I've talked about of typical products that we might use in a casino program. Our on-the-go collection, we're going to have some fun with this one. We're going to create a private label that we can use with some of our bags and backpacks and duffels. And that one on the left, the things we can do with it are the ones that are, you want different colored straps, we'll put different colored straps. You want an extra pocket in the inside, we'll put an extra pocket on the inside. The whole idea about this within our core with these factories is the ability to meet exactly what our customers want with this thing. So it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. So like that barbecue set that I saw a couple slides ago, it was black handles, I think. Are you telling me that if I wanted a different color handle, or I wanted a different color carry case, or I even wanted to add another piece to that set, I just ask you and you can deliver?
Absolutely. Um, that factory that makes those barbecue sets that we work with, we can design any barbecue set you want. You give us the specifications of what you want. We will quote back to you what that barbecue set will cost delivered to you, with all the logoing you require on it, and any colors, whatever customization you require. And that's what the whole thing is: custom direct.
Gotcha. So even just to kind of clarify a little bit more, even if there's something that's not represented here with at home or on the go in this core category.
Right. These that we're putting together are really examples. It's kind of a I wouldn't call it a greatest hits collection, but it's a representative collection of products, so that you can see the types of things that we're able to do. And then send us that request. What we want to be that first phone call you make. When you've got an opportunity, we want to be that first phone call that you make, and see what we can do for you.
Okay. So we're getting close to our time here. So I want to go to the poll, and then I want to ask you one more question. The question was, according to a survey conducted by, what percentage of consumers will remember the brand or the logo on a promotional product? And I think the best answer we got was, the closest answer we got was up in the 80% range. And actually, according to a survey conducted by Promotion Marketing LLC, 89% of consumers can recall the brand on a promotional product they received in the past 2 years. So that kind of speaks to everything we're talking about. And I think that's a fantastic representation of that. So one more question about Custom Direct before we have to go is, what can we expect in the next couple of weeks or months?
Great. Well, we're launching today. I think we're going to see next week some additional communication coming out from Incentive Concepts to all of our friends out in the industry, our customers and others. One of the big things that'll be going out in the next couple of weeks is some of the specifics of what I've talked about. What are going to be, what's the expectations? What's our turnaround time for a quote for a core category? 24 to 36 hours. How much longer does it take for one that we won't have the close relationships with? We'll be putting together a catalog that is that representative look at what we have within our core categories. Going out a little bit farther, hopefully we're going to be able to get out and see some people someday again. We'd love to be at ASI Chicago, which will be potentially the first trade show open. That's rescheduled for the fall. That's still, I don't know whether we'll do it or not. We've booked space for a separate Custom Direct booth at PPII Expo. We've got to get our private label collection all put together. And like anything else new, as we go through this thing, and as we learn, as customers give us feedback, as customers give us questions, as our reps and sales teams, come back with questions and things, we adjust. And that's the beauty of this thing. We've got a great team that we're working with. But we're also working with a pretty clean sheet of paper. So it's pretty wide open right now what we can do for the market.
Well, it's very exciting. It sounds like there's a lot of work yet to be done, but I appreciate you being on. I guess one personal question, and my family and I are going to watch Hamilton tomorrow night when it first comes out. That's our plans. What is your plan for the holiday weekend?
Actually, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to steal some video time at my daughter's house here. But the big weekend, I started last weekend using my Karcher gas-powered pressure washer to clean the pool and patio area. And now on the 4th, my daughter, son-in-law, 2 granddaughters are coming over for a little pool time. Some ribs on the Broil King keg, and we'll soak up some Florida sun wearing those Home State Costa sunglasses.
Well, that's impressive. You got several of our brands in there, Ted.
I'm a shameless promoter of our brands.
All right. Well, thanks. This has been a great conversation. 30 minutes sure does. Time flies when you're having fun. Sounds fantastic. A wonderful project. I'm really excited to keep learning more about this. And for those of you that are watching, that's a wrap on this episode. Next week, we're going to bring in Mark Wunderlich and David Rosenstock, who are our two wonderful sales reps from the Midwest. And they're going to be covering a lot of our different brands, very cool things, and demoing some of our very cool brands and items from outdoor recreation, indoor recreation, Bose audio, home goods, and even more, some fitness products as well. And then a week from then, on July 16th, we're going to head out to New England, and our friends Dan Craig and Jeff Kierton. And I'm really excited about this. They're going to be demoing and executing one of our Select Signature Collection events on site. And we'll be broadcasting that live via this platform. So that'll be exciting as well. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Click that subscribe button. And please head on over to incentiveconcepts.com/live to RSVP and watch future episodes. Ted, once again, thank you so very much. This has been fantastic. Have a great weekend, everybody, and have a great weekend too, Ted. Take care.
Thank you. This was fun. Thanks, everybody, and look forward to some more information in the coming weeks on this.
All right, Ted. Have a happy holiday weekend. Take care.
You too, Andy.